I will introduce Jim. Jim, it is all yours. Take the floor.
Great. Thank you very much, Tanis, for sure. And good afternoon, absolutely, to everybody there. Hope everybody's staying safe and well. We've only got a short time frame here, so I've got to be fairly hasty here today. But obviously, we want to talk about the value of distributing cleaning chemicals and things like that. But it's sort of in an opening. Obviously, our marketplace is changing, and it's actually changing faster than ever. There's business acquisitions going on from within Canada, from outside of Canada. Service expectations are at an all-time high, and one tip of the day is really never underestimate the value of that. And there's a lot. I know our focus is very simple this year, and it's called Make It Easy. And those that will really offer exemplary service and make it easy will automatically benefit from that. Business strategies, I mean, we've got to adjust those. There's no question. We've got to adjust them for 2024. We've got to look ahead to 2025 and 2026, and you need to prioritize those because the world has changed since COVID. That's altered our industry, and it has forever. It actually should bode well for every single one of us, as a matter of fact. But keep in mind, there's the viruses, the future of viruses will be, as strong, if stronger than ever, as a matter of fact, there. And it's something that you always got to keep in mind. And employee wellness is really one of the key drivers today. One thing that I know, and I make a lot of sales calls out there still today, is customers really want to consider doing business with the local suppliers and within the province and within the country of Canada now. That is really coming to the forefront. And again, that bodes well for all of us here. So I'm just going to go over some current market financials and statistics. I'm going to look at some marketplace anxiety, some current and predicted challenges, a template for success, and a return on investment in implementation here. So the one thing about chemistry that you need to understand is that your chemical sales should make up 33.4% of your business, right? So that's a long-standing industry statistic from ISSA, as a matter of fact. So if you're, so basically a third of your business should be chemical sales without question, right? And if I look at our chemical sales in our industry, it's a $36 billion industry. The margin is 34%. When you are, heavily invested in chemical, that offers long-term business. It's very profitable, and it's repeat sales. Basically, when the jug's empty, they reorder, right? And so it's a really secure long-term strategy for you every time you do that. Equipment, you sell equipment once, it's a high value, sometimes a lower margin, but you generally don't get that sale again until another 5 or 6 or 7 years or so. With chemistry and chemical, they're actually buying it every single week, every single month, every single day, right? Adding it into our line items for Ballpex members, it's an increase in line items, right? Line item orders can be as low as 3, maybe up to 4 or 5 line items per invoice. If you're adding chemistry to that, it obviously increases that, and the price of delivering a half of a truck or a full truck is relatively the same. One thing in the food service is they're looking for small cube and high case costs, and that's exactly what you get into with chemical as well, right? Also bringing additional value through adding chemistry in with your automatic scrubbers, your equipment and things like that, and dispensers. I mean, it's just a nice marriage there, and really, increase sales. And this is a key thing. Increasing sales through Ballpex membership there increases the bottom line, the rebate dollars as well. So there is a substantial return on investment on it. Okay. Now this was done just before COVID, as a matter of fact. This is the ISSA sanitary supply poll that was done for distribution sales, and it was combined with 5,500 distributors in North America, as a matter of fact. So what's interesting, and really backing up what I said about Canadians wanting to do business with Canadians, 32% of these sales, of this $36 billion, comes from a 60-mile radius, as a matter of fact. And that is meaning, like right in your backyard, 32% of it within 60 miles, right? The annual sales volume, and this is amazing, is 54% of the distributors in North America are under $7 million, right? You know, it's only when you get up to 69, like $70 million up to 134, really, that is really 4% of the market. So there's a lot of distributor houses like us in there that are really in that 54%, 20%, 7%, and so on, right? Okay, where does the bulk of the breakdown come from? Plastic and plastic sales and paper sales are 50% of the spend. Chemical sales are 33.4% of the spend, and then it actually goes down from there, right? You know, which is amazing. Who is our customer, right? 19.2% is education, schools, colleges, universities, private schools. Industrial is less than 14%. Building service contractors, and I think as a whole, we could all do better with building service contractors, but it really only makes up 13% of the spend here with this distributor group. Healthcare, the same at 13%. Commercial office buildings, property management at just about 13%. Government, only 9%. Hotels, motels, accommodation really is about 7.2%. And then everything else in there is about 12.5%. So that's really the market segment that's involved with it, right? The average gross margin, 33%. I mean, that's fairly healthy percentage. In fact, we have a lot of distributors across the country that are actually 40%, 42, 43. And this is the average out of 5,500 distributors. So it's very lucrative, right? This is the breakdown of chemical sales, right? Hand soaps and hand sanitizers. Keep in mind, this number was just before COVID. COVID would have actually obviously accelerated that dramatically, but it's actually balanced out. So I would say it'd be fairly consistent number today, but almost 24% of the sales here total is in hand soaps and hand sanitizers, right? That probably went up to about 40 or 50% during COVID, but it's actually come back down now. Cleaners, degreasers, restroom cleaners. Keep in mind, restroom cleaners is an amazing area of customer satisfaction and business retention, and that's 20% of the sales. Floor care, 18.7%. Floor care, the future of floor care is sort of suspect with all the new substrates that are out there, you know, with no maintenance and so-called no maintenance, but there are new programs for that as well. Disinfectants, 10%. Ice melters, odor control, laundry, and all of these stats are available for you afterwards. But I mean, really, if you look at the bulk of it, it's hand soap, sanitizers, cleaners, restroom cleaners, and floor care products, right? And everything else comes into it at the tail end, right? So what are we looking at for the future looking forward, right? Market trends, I mean, they're saying the average annual growth this year will be 5.2 to 12%. Right. And in fact, more than 12% in this case, double digit. I can tell you my personal budget is double digit. Right. And we're actually performing above that in our first quarter, which is good, sort of backs up what I'm talking about here. But customer reach is, I mean, we have to rethink customer reach. We have to make it easy. E-commerce, for those that don't have ordering platforms, they need to have it. Inside sales division. So in other words, reach for the outside sales force is an area that you could actually improve and increase revenue. Outside representative calls. I mean, we're not making enough sales calls as a general rule this in the market anymore. I mean, we used to dramatically make more calls. We need to get back to that. And that's one of my mandates, is really getting back to the whole sales team making more calls, because a customer still wants to see you if you can provide value, right? We need to retain and expand existing business. The cost for a customer to switch is very expensive unless you royally mess up. I guess I'm trying to keep it politically correct here. I mean, you know, unless you can't deliver the box, you'll generally keep it unless something goes wrong, and especially if you have the relationship. So it's another opportunity to grow and retain. You want to secure new business, and you really have to understand their challenges and make it easy today, because that's what people are actually looking for. So there's double-digit growth there all day long. What are some of our pain points? You know, there's competitors coming from the outside into our space. You know, office supply. We've known office supply has always been sort of eyeing up our. Well, now they're getting more aggressive, right? We're losing that level of expertise from distributors and manufacturers and facilities, where that person who maybe worked 25 years and knew how to do floor care and knew how to disinfect surfaces and things has gone away, and really there's a lack of expertise there. Retention of people, retirement, attracting new talent is a bit of an awkward situation now. I mean, I know we just added 2 new individuals on, and it took us actually 2.5 months to secure those 2 individuals, right? The acquisitions and disruptions I've talked about, margin shrinkage, right? There's really not a reason for margin shrinkage if you're managing the account properly and passing along price increases as they come along, and really looking at the bundle and the product mix for people and things like that. You should be able to maintain your margin. In fact, you can probably increase it if you do it properly, right? End user facilities are also considering single source agreements again. And that was something back early in the 80s. And I mean, they're actually rethinking that. And then the distribution bundle. I mean, a SKU is a SKU is a SKU. I mean, offering that to customers, particularly when they want to go with single source, is a good way to go, right? This one here is probably the most important in this day and age. Human wellness, the focus is critical, right? We need assistance there. Facilities are open to ideas. They're open to innovation, and skilled people will win here, right? I mean, proving it safer, not just for the environment and sustainability, but also for human wellness is really a key driver, right? You know, that's a major focus since COVID. The public demand for a higher level of cleanliness I've never seen it higher, as a matter of fact. Safer products, you know, the next wave, by the way, is within disinfectants. I mean, all disinfectants are poisons and toxins, no matter what way you look at it. It just depends on the marketing twist we put on it. But I mean, they kill things, right? And people all want Ecologo certification, or they want Save the Planet or the trees and things like that. And when you got a poison and a toxin you're dealing with, I mean, it's, you know, you've got a fine line there, right? But safer disinfectants, safer products are critical. What happens when it flushes down the drain? These are all areas of expertise that we need to really adapt and introduce to our customer, right? The need for lowering the risk of cross-contamination. The way that our world is, the population explosion, the mobility that we can travel from international airports all over the world in less than 24 hours. And if we don't practice hygiene, we can spread that, right? And the future of viruses and diseases, they're not going away. In fact, all science predicts, a return stronger than ever. You know, so where do I start? What do I look at, and how do I look at chemical opportunities, and how do I implement it, and what chemical line, and who do I partner with, and why chemical? Okay. Why chemical? I guess I've probably pretty well answered it, but you know what? Everybody buys chemical. They buy it often. It's automatic repeat sales once the sale's done. It's additional revenue. It increases value to your current clients. I mean, if you're doing packaging and disposables, and that's all you're offering, and then all of a sudden you're limited. But if you offer in chemistry to match along with that, that's an increased value, right? Increased rebate dollars for you. New business opportunities, right? You know, account retention is key, because once generally someone surrounds themselves with your floor care program or your carpet care program or your food service program, they generally stay with you. So there's a good reason why you should choose chemical. Okay. Who do you partner with, right? Well, there's a few options in Canada. And I would suggest a Canadian partner as opposed to out of country. Nothing against the out of country, but look at, you've got better representation in Canada, and you got a real hands-on relationship with everybody there, and they're certainly approachable, and they could be there frequently, right? So you want to meet with prospective manufacturers. You want to understand what it is they offer. You want to visit their manufacturing facility, meet with their teams, figure out what makes them tick, figure out what differentiates them and the value that they offer, right? You know, do they produce the product? How's their innovation? You know, do they have sustainability efforts and things like that? You know, and can they train your team? And choose a partner that sells, you know, simplified programs, not complicated programs, because the sales team and the customer in generally, you know, there's a little bit of disconnect there when we don't explain simplified programs, right? What chemical line? You know, you need third-party Eco Logo certification, whether it be UL Eco Logo, whether it be Green Seal, which is really United States, USDA certified organic is a new one that we've actually taken down that path, which is proven safer for human wellness. But you've really got to consider that importance of third-party certification, which is safer for human health and the environment, right? And then also relationship and trust. I know our Enviro Solutions line has been around since 1994. We actually introduced it. It was developed in 1990. It took us 3 or 4 years to get it going, but I mean, that's one of the strongest brands in North America today with the best documentation. And yes, it is third-party certification. You know, that just gives you that level of quality and support and education that you need for it in public buildings, right? So how do you implement you know, this type of program? Well, you agree on the brands, you know, pick your brands, pick a few brands, right? Establish a sales and marketing strategy that is very easy. Again, not complicated. I just did a trade show yesterday, as a matter of fact, and people were looking for simplistic approaches, not complex, you know, programs and things like that, right? You want to get an order in place for products and starting inventory, you know, training and demos and things like that. You want to schedule training and launch meetings and arrange joint sales calls. And believe me, the importance of joint sales calls is not about spending 8 hours anymore, Monday to Friday, with a manufacturer's rep. It's having the top 20% of their accounts, which makes up 80% of the sales, calling on them and really going and learning from each other and making it happen. You know, when do you start, right? Well, I would expedite Q1 2024. Today's February the 8th. I mean, we're fast. The next thing you know, it'll be fall again or something like that. And you know, and just a little a tip there. It's just not about planning for 2024. It's about what are you going to do in 2025 and what are you going to do in 2026? Because some of these programs take a while to ramp up and things like that. So it really comes down to longer term planning and developing strategies as opposed to just a quarter at a time, right? Break down your quarters, you know, on a particular focus that what you want to achieve in Q1 or Q2 or Q3 or Q4, but that long-term planning really needs to go ahead. Okay, so some marketing strategy, consistent, effective strategies meeting your exact class of trades. Everybody on the line here have some different class of trades. They have smaller volume, larger volume, massive volume, and you know, and there are different classes of trade that pertain to your particular business, right? You know, then you've got to really come up with reach. How do I tell customers what I have? How do I make it easy for them to online order? You know, your inside sales division, do they have a strategy that's about constant reach and not just emailing blasts out there, by the way, really intelligent, you know, well thought of strategies and marketing campaigns that attract business, right? Retail outlets. Some of you have retail outlets that are on the line. I mean, are you making it easy there for your customer to shop? I mean, the hours of convenience when they come in, do you have inventory? Is it priced correctly? Do they have QR codes? Can they find out information, shelf talkers, you know, without relying on staff? Do you have it well staffed, as a matter of fact? Do you have experts and training programs within in your retail stores that can truly walk customers through, you know, their pain points and their solutions that they need their issues that they have solutions for. 3 pillars of sustainability. Something we've always practiced about the economic pillar, the environmental pillar, and the social pillar. You know, so economically, things can't cost more. In fact, we need to change our marketing strategies to, instead of price per unit, to ready to use cost, whether it's liters or gallons or unit of measurement, square footage, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, liters, meters, you know, square footage, whatever it may be, right? You know, so the economic people they don't have more money. Budgets are not higher as a general rule now. You know, so it needs to be affordable. Environmental, it has to be it just definitely has to be environmentally better. and sustainable at the same time, and socially. And this is the world of social media and cameras and all of those kinds of things that can make your life miserable very quickly. You have to have a social improvement element involved there as well. So I know us, just an example is our USDA certified organic hand soap. We're now talking to student council. We're talking to 5-year-old and 7-year-olds and 9-year-olds that are saying, why should we buy that? What's good about it? Which is a very interesting twist. And I've been in the industry a long time and never actually seen that before. It's generally finance and, and union heads and things like that. And now it's student council. So that really ties into the 3 pillars. The carbon footprint improvement and sustainable practices. I really summarize sustainability as about caring about our future today. Well, let's not worry about 30 years from now. I guess who knows what'll happen in the next 30 years, but let's care about our planet today. So these are all sales and marketing strategies that come into it. Your investment, right? If you're hiring a new sales individual to come in, their salary can range from $60,000 to $100,000, depending on who it is and where it is and the task involved, right? And basically, so depending on the sales volume, the overall opportunity could be, if you said, okay, an average sales territory should be $1 million plus, right? If my gross profit dollars were 34%, I've got $340,000 in revenue there. I've got an investment of $60,000 to $100,000 depending. So you can see it's relatively profitable. What you need to really worry about is sourcing a passionate chemical-focused representative. And the first place I would look is from within your organization, and then I would look outside, and do your due diligence and really pick that person. And one words of wisdom from me, it used to be you could bring on an individual and you could see a turn in 6 months and you could see a fairly good investment or really getting a grasp on the territory within 12 months. I think that's a little longer these days. One thing that we do as a group is we underestimate the value that we offer, and I know for sure we do, and we take it for granted. But what we do is we save lives. I mean, we are a very critical component to health and welfare of people, safer, cleaner facilities and things like that. So it takes a little while to learn that. If you bring in chemistry with your existing sales force, it's a major opportunity for higher earnings. You don't necessarily need to increase base salaries and things like that, but you put a complementary commission program involved, and it's an opportunity for higher earnings. And your sales staff, if you've got the same status quo program, and you bring along opportunity, something that's easy to sell and easy to buy, they make more money. Believe me, there's a lot of buy-in there. It's not driven down from decision makers, right? So it's new offerings and sales opportunities, right? So really, if I look at the sales objective, if I was designing your sales program and your budget, it would be basically a third of your sales should be chemical opportunity. So I mean, basically, a third is a third. That's your potential on average per every single one of your sales reps there as well. So you can see the ROI could be big, right? The other thing too is your chemical offering should be tailored to you specifically. Establish that product range that suits your vision. Select the class of trade champions. One thing too is dilution is great. Dilution control is great, but you've got an investment in dispensers. You've got a return on investment time frame there. One thing that we find in food packaging and disposables, there's a lot of call for ready-to-use product offerings. Food service sanitizers that are guaranteed 200 parts per million that you can train somebody in a restaurant situation in a matter of minutes, as a matter of fact, without worrying about PPM tests and dilution and hard water and clogging and the cost of a dispenser and things like that. So I mean, ready-to-use, and there's whole offerings of those out there, from the back of a restaurant to the front of a restaurant, to every type of class of trade facility that we're actually talking about. So next steps, here's what I would recommend is consider a confidential conversation with your trusted manufacturer. We are available, by the way. I always put that sales hat on there, and we'll walk you through the process. Establish the clarity and the opportunity for your specific marketplace. identify those specific market opportunities, establish your timelines, prioritize, make sure they're realistic as well, and then go to implementation. Documented training, launch meetings, sales calls, support in the field is what you need to do. You need to hold everybody accountable with targets that are achievable. And one thing about a budget, you can depress the thoughts of people extremely easy if you've got an unachievable budget. A budget should be designed to achieve and use it as a motivation, not as okay, let's hope we get there, right? You know, one thing I know is if you boost the morale of people, productivity will take care of itself. So that's really something they would consider in next steps. Measuring, motivating, and fine-tuning people. Absolutely, we want to do that. You know, so the sales rep and me, we would be absolutely honored to work with you. And I mean, absolutely honored. We take what we do seriously and very passionate. We would be able to develop a specific program for maximum success and earn your business. So with that being said, thank you for your valuable time. And I will turn it over for any questions that anybody may have. And of course, I'm available offline. Our whole Charlotte team is available offline for you anytime to take a more detailed conversation. So I'll turn it back over to whether it's Brianna or Tanis or whoever it is.
Thank you, Jim. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to type in the chat or say them out loud. But does anyone have any questions for Jim or the team? Well, I have a question.
Okay. Don't put me on the spot, Tanis.
I know, sorry. So what sorts of things does Charlotte offer in a way of training for a distributor who's interested in chemical sales? And would you recommend for the distributor to appoint one person to train and be a chemical specialist, or train the whole distributor sales team?
Yeah, good couple of questions there. What we do is we've customized our training programs to the goals of every single distributor, and what are their opportunities in their trading zone, what's their vision, and where do they want to go, right? So one thing that training, you have to have every element of training, you know, whether it's virtual, whether it's hands-on, whether it's demonstrations, whether it's textbook type exams, quizzes, all of those kinds of things. We've had more demands for training in 2024 than we've had in 2022 and 2023 combined. And as far as individuals within the organization, it depends on the skill set and where they want to see themselves. Some reps have better opportunities for chemical, some don't. So we would be willing to train everybody, and whether it's inside sales or retail or outside sales or e-commerce type or whatever, or one specific individual that may be focused on building service contractors or the education sector. So I guess the answer would be, we'll customize it to absolutely the directive of our partners here in the Ballpex organization.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. And it varies. I mean, not one recipe fits everybody, really. You know, it's whether it's bilingual training, I mean, whether it's in Spanish, whatever, I mean, we can come to the table and really help everybody with the languages, because language barriers are big things, right? You know, they are. Selling these things are not difficult. It's a matter of building the confidence in people. And if you build the confidence in people, everything else will really usually come into line.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
We do have another question in the chat. It's, do you recommend a distributor start with selling concentrates with dispensing systems or ready-to-use products?
Depends on who they are. Again, ready to use is much easier, without question. We call it easy to buy and easy to sell. It's a relatively low cost, as a matter of fact, too. I mean, you can sell a particular bottle of a 946 bottle with a trigger sprayer, 946 mil bottle with a trigger sprayer for $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, depending on what it is, where a concentrate could be $150 a case, but the ready-to-use cost of the concentrate will be probably 50% less than the concentrate will be, I got to make sure I say it right. The concentrate price ready to use will probably be 50% less than a ready-to-use bottle off of the shelf, right? So there's big economics in there as well. So it really comes down to it. Ready to use is easy to sell and easy to buy. Concentrate dispensing systems are the highest margin coming back to yourselves, and it's the that has the longest retention on a customer's wall. Dispensing units will last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So you've got long-term business security there with dispensers. So really it comes down to where do you want to go, which best suits your sales and marketing strategy, and we'll work with you to maximize both of those. You may want some concentrates, but have 10 maybe SKUs that are relative in ready to use packaging. So again, it's customized to you. Great question though.
Thank you. Well, we are at the time and we did promise everybody half an hour. So I just want to say thank you so much, Jim, and thank you to the Charlotte team for today. We are so excited to have you as our elite vendor for this month. There is still lots of time to book your meetings with the Charlotte team, so please do so. They are great to work with. And thank you so much for your time, and everyone who is on this call, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you. Very welcome. Thank you.